Designing for WhatsApp 101. I'm super excited to have so many people tuning in from different channels. We have Facebook group, YouTube, Zoom. We have people from all over the world. Super excited to chat more about this global messaging app, which is WhatsApp. And I would love to, if the people who everywhere, I'm looking at all of your comments, if you could just let me know what is your experience with WhatsApp, and do you know a lot about it? Do you use it? Do you do conversation design for it? What's just sort of your familiarity with the platform itself, and as a user and as a conversation designer? So if you guys could just give us a little insight there. And I'll say for myself, I have used WhatsApp, again, for personal use to chat with people internationally. I used it mostly before there was iMessage because it was difficult to message people in other countries. But I have never interacted with a WhatsApp chatbot. So I'm super excited to hear what they actually are about. And just to learn a little bit more about what goes into them, what are the capabilities, and how can you actually design something that people want to interact with. Personally, I would love to interact with a WhatsApp chatbot, but I'm sure that there's good and bad ones out there.
We'll send you some good ones. That we
yeah. In Indonesia, people mainly use WhatsApp as their main messaging platform. I've designed a few WhatsApp chatbots, but their limitations are tricky. And I think you're going to talk about that today as well. I use WhatsApp a lot. I work on a WhatsApp chatbot. WhatsApp as a messaging channel is huge. I have started interacting with brands now. It's a very mixed bag in terms of what people are using WhatsApp for. So I think we're actually going to have something for everyone today. So I will pause here and stop talking about myself so much. If you happen to not know me yet, my name is Hillary Black, and I am a conversation designer and content creator. I design mostly for SMS and Facebook Messenger chatbots. And I'm super excited to welcome my guests here today. I will let both of them introduce themselves and share more about their experience as well.
Cool. Tripti, do you want to go first?
Yeah, why not? My name is Tripti. I'm a conversation design manager at Haptik for about 2 years now. I have designed about 50 plus chatbots across platforms, websites, WhatsApp, and Facebook. Not really touched the SMS sector much, but I'd like to explore that and have a chat with you sometime.
Yeah, absolutely.
So my career did not really start with conversation design. I started off as a UX designer. I was a UX designer for more than like 5 years. And I think when I, got this opportunity, and it felt like a natural transition from, thinking from a user's perspective and designing for a user to then designing conversations for a user. I think it was a very, very nice mixed bag of a lot of skills that I had using UX design, and I could, add value to in terms of conversation. So I think it was an exciting switch. So I worked in the advertising sector for most of my career, and it's been like 2 years since I've got into this niche sector of conversation design, and loving it every day.
Awesome.
That's nice. So, okay, my name is Avni, and I am a senior conversation designer at Haptik. I've also been at Haptik for about 2 years now, close to 2 years. Before this, I was actually into fashion designing, and then I kind of went ahead and I studied masters in design, where I took up UX, user experience, as my core subject, which is when one day we had a session on chatbots and how to design them. And there was this one person from Haptik who had come to do it. That's when I got introduced to chatbot the first time. And I was so intrigued. I fell in love with it. I fell in love with how you design it. And since then, yeah, I've been designing chatbots. I think I must have designed close to about 30 chatbots here and there. I've done good amount of work on WhatsApp. I have a lot of knowledge and information to share. But yeah, that's been my journey to becoming a conversation designer, and I'm learning new things every day. So I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, and I think the platforms themselves definitely keep us learning. I feel like it's always,
sure.
And even like when you get into a new platform, I'm sure designing for a website versus designing for WhatsApp is like total opposite in terms of every like feature, function, style of conversation. So it's super interesting to me too.
Yep.
All right, well, let's dive in. Avni, I think you are controlling the slides,
Yeah,
right?
I
Okay.
am. Slides.
Just making sure, yes.
That's us.
Yes, that's us.
And yeah, Tripti, why don't you take over?
So I think we'll deep dive right in. Today we're going to be touching upon a lot of topics. From understanding WhatsApp as a platform to understanding how we can leverage it to make amazing chatbots and have amazing conversations. To what actually works on WhatsApp, what doesn't work on WhatsApp, what you should refrain from, and how do you work around those limitations, right, that someone spoke about in chat also. So yeah, let's deep dive right into it. So as a platform, WhatsApp reaches about 2 billion users, which is a huge number. I think in India, it is, the primary form of communication that everybody uses, to talk. I'll be sitting in one room and I'll, WhatsApp somebody in the other just to, pass on one message instead of talking. So it has become a huge part of our daily lives. And it's just recently that WhatsApp opened up to brands and services to allow them to use their platform to talk to their users, right? I think, which is a huge deal, because the footfall on this platform is humongous. And the amount of people you can reach at one time with one message, it can do wonders. The only thing that WhatsApp is very strict about is its policies, right? Since we, like I spoke about, that it has become so personal to us, WhatsApp wants to, keep that space sacred. WhatsApp does not want to allow spam content. It does not want brands and services to misuse the platform and use it to, promote and market their products and services. Instead, it wants brands to use the platform to add value to the user, right? So in terms of designing for WhatsApp versus any other platform, like Hilary rightly said, it is very different. We have that power, where, if a user is using their phone and they see like a notification on WhatsApp, they're not going to let it go. They're not going to keep their phone aside and not look at it all day long, right? They are going to open it up, and when they open it up, they would like to see something valuable and not something that does not, do anything for them. Which is why we need to use this platform very thoughtfully, and something that adds value to the user.
Yeah,
So
and I think too that like that probably should be the rule for everything. And what's so interesting, that I'm sure most people know that WhatsApp is owned by Facebook, but the experiences of chatbots on Facebook Messenger and like the rules are very different from WhatsApp. So WhatsApp is, wanting to protect that user communication, and I don't necessarily think that Facebook Messenger is wanting to.
yeah, of course, because Facebook does, they have their own promotions. Facebook is now primarily, I think, becoming a promotional platform, versus WhatsApp still remains that personal space where you're communicating day to day. So I think that bifurcation is required, and I think they're using it well. So yeah, and so WhatsApp allows brands to use their platform in two different ways, and we'll talk about them, right here. You can leverage the platform to do a one-way communication and a two-way communication. Now, what does a one-way communication mean? It is that you can send users notifications, just like an SMS. If we still use SMS, and still a lot of brands send SMS updates to users regarding the important milestones in their service. The same way you can use WhatsApp for notifications. If you booked a movie, you can send a movie ticket to a user as a notification. It can go as a PDF, and the user can open it up, save it, and use it to get their way into a movie theater. Of course, not now because we're in a pandemic, but once it opens up, of course you can use it. They can use notifications to send bills to their users. So it is a one-way communication, where if the brand has got consent from a user that they can send them communication on WhatsApp, they can trigger notifications at different important times of. Avni, scrolling. Okay.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
I've lost my screen. Okay, never mind. So yeah, so they can use notifications, which is again a very, very powerful feature. The other part of WhatsApp that you can use is two-way communication. Now that is where all the magic happens. That is where you can build an entire full-fledged chatbot where brands can have a proper conversation with a user, where you can start off with a notification and move into an entire conversation where you can resolve users queries in a jiffy, because your phone is in your hand. You can just pick up the phone and ask a brand a question, say, hey, can you help me pay my bill, for example, and the chatbot can do that for you, which is very, very powerful in my mind.
Yeah,
It's just,
absolutely.
yeah.
One question that someone has for you is, does Haptik provide both the one-way and two-way? So do you do notifications and IVA?
Yes, we do both. We have our own product that we develop chatbots on, and we also have our own platform called Interact, where brands and services can handle their notifications and send them in bulk. So we do cater to both. So you can hit us up if you have something that you want, to be sent on WhatsApp. I think give you our emails after the entire session is over.
Yeah, absolutely. Or like hit you up on LinkedIn. Yeah. And I do think it's interesting because for SMS, which is kind of like the closest thing I would say to WhatsApp, is you're seeing a lot of both of those. And I actually am designing for two-way automated, and there's like no one who is doing that. And it is a little bit difficult, of course. Like you kind of have to know the landscape to be able to create an experience like that. But it's so much more real to how a person interacts with a person. So I think not just sending the blast down the pipe. Of course, if you're getting something helpful like a ticket, you want that. But I think like being able to have these interactive conversations is what a user actually wants.
Yeah, and I think that conversation really is meaningful, right? It is what adds value at the end of it. Otherwise, why would I use the platform anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think these two are very, very powerful mediums that we can use today to talk to users, and we'll talk about each of them in detail. So coming to WhatsApp notifications, Avni, you're not presenting, why?
Oh, is it? Okay, hold on.
Okay.
All good. There's one more question in the meantime too. Is voice chat enabled in WhatsApp? So can you have a voice convo?
So WhatsApp is very, very restrictive in terms of the platform. Apart from not allowing promotional and spam content, it does not have any interface elements, right? It does not have buttons. It does not have carousels. It does not have voice. It is a little difficult to converse and actually design a conversation for WhatsApp because it has so many limitations. But at the same time, it is a challenge that we thrive for, to be able to design something with restrictions is something that itches our creative mind, which is nice.
Yeah, absolutely. That's like my favorite part too about SMS.
Okay. Can you all see my screen?
Yes. All good.
Okay.
Yeah. So talking about notifications, like I mentioned, in WhatsApp's language, they are called highly structured message, which is an HSM. Again, WhatsApp's policies are publicly available, and it is a platform, and some like the business API, like I said, is very, very recently opened, and it is evolving, right? They are also testing a lot of features with beta users. So I think in the beginning they had like 10 brands in India at least, and they took them as a beta test, and they gave them features which were not allowed to other people. And when we had brands coming to us and saying, hey, but this XYZ brand did it, why can't we do it? And we were like, WhatsApp is very, very particular about how, what beta features they give to some brands versus the others. So we had to have that explanatory talk with our brands. But yeah, so WhatsApp tests its features to the T. Which is why they are not allowing any promotional or marketing content, and they want the platform to be used as a transactional platform, right? They want like I said, the user to drive value out of the conversation and not just see a message and leave it at read. No one wants to feel that way. So they're trying to use the platform to make it very, very important to a user and solve user problems at the end of it. They don't want users left wondering where to go, what to do, or confused. They want it to be point to point, which is amazing.
Someone asked about the HSM messages. Haley says, I've been trying to send HSM messages via WhatsApp recently, but I keep getting rejections with only vague explanations. Do you know how they do the like approval checks, and is it automated, or does someone physically check each message?
Okay, so of what we've heard and what we've had communication with WhatsApp before, there is somebody who actually manually checks it, but it is quite vague in the sense that we also do it on a trial and error. If you can send me one message, I can probably see and tell you what promotional word you have used, and which is why it's getting rejected constantly, right?
Yeah.
They pick up on the smaller words which sound promotional or in some way intend to be marketing, which they don't want to do on the platform, which is why you will have to probably do trial and error and remove any word that yells sales or marketing or promotions, and I think you should be good.
Yeah.
And I think
But
what we also do is we add variations of those notifications, because we kind of tend to know that probably this might get rejected. So what you can smartly do is add variations of the same kind of content that you want to kind of deliver, and one might just get approved out of that.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you send them 10 and they'll probably approve one, which is that's a good hack around WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Cool. Also, this platform, like I said, is evolving. Their policies are evolving every day. So we'll answer all your questions to the best of our ability and experience and knowledge. But beyond that, if WhatsApp updates their policy tomorrow, we're not the ones to hold.
Yeah.
But yeah, coming to the different types of notifications that you can send, right? In the beginning, when WhatsApp had just launched, they only had one type, right? They had only text messages. You can send a text message, leave it at that. They did not let you touch anything else, right? Even the text message is very restrictive. I think it has a 1400 character limit, and it's also divided into header, body, and footer. Again, these three elements can be used, or you can just use the body to send your message. It completely depends on what your brand wants to go after. But we would highly recommend going with the structure, because it adds credibility, right? You have a header, you have a footer that marks your brand name, which makes it more credible, and your body obviously encapsulates your most important part of the update or a transactional information that you want to send to your user. So this is the most standard and basic template that you can use for the notification. Now, the other types are very recently launched. We are also exploring them each day. One is a media notification, where you can send PDFs and images. Like I was telling you before, be it a flight ticket, a movie ticket, your phone bill, your electricity bill, those kind of important documents can be sent via WhatsApp using this media notification. It comes along with a caption, and it is really valuable to a brand who wants to, who constantly has users coming back for, monthly updates or documents that they need, like insurance documents, those important documents that you need, on a regular basis. It's a very good type of notification for those kind of cases.
Mm-hmm.
And the third type of notification is the newest one, which we're very excited about, where they've allowed buttons in only the notification part of things, which really allows us that pathway for the user to get into a two-way conversation, right? If I'm sending the user a notification with some information, and I want the user to respond with an input, I can just put a button of saying, hey, would you like to chat about this further, yes or no? And if I get a yes, I can continue that conversation into a two-way conversation, which makes it so much more, takes it one level higher, where I can use both the mediums that WhatsApp allows and get them together to make one full-blown conversation, which is amazing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, these are the different types of notifications that WhatsApp allows today. Like I said, again, tomorrow, if they release another type, who knows, right?
Yeah, and perhaps this will be the direction they head in, is the more interactive, because I think it gives the user more control over if they want to continue the conversation or not.
Yeah, definitely. And I think WhatsApp works on consent, right? They do not allow brands to send HSMs and notifications without having an opt-in. And opt-in is something that they require, which is consent, right? Primarily
Yeah.
means consent. They want the user's consent on some platform, be it online, on ground, anywhere, that the user is okay talking to a brand on WhatsApp. And without that, they won't let you send that notification. So
Yeah.
it is a very private channel in that sense. So yeah, getting to now, once we've understood the different types of notifications you can send, like someone asked, right? Some notification is getting rejected. You know, you can check all of these boxes and see if your notification fits in any of these. Whether notifications has any sales, discounts, promotions. It has a recurring content, which means that WhatsApp can tag it as spam content. Again, customer re-engagement is again in some shape or form promotional, which they don't want to do.
That's
They
so
don't.
interesting that they don't want that, because
Yeah,
that's what, partially that's kind of how Facebook makes their money, is by you sending a re-engagement over 24 hours.
yeah.
So it's interesting that they don't want that.
Yeah, at least at this point in time they don't. I think they still want to protect their channel till the maximum they can.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, which is what I said, right? It is so challenging so many times. Like I just feel that person in chat where we've tried so many times to send a notification and it just gets rejected, and we're left scratching our heads of why is this getting rejected. It's annoying, but yeah, I think we've learned to live with it.
Yeah.
And we, that's how we've charted down these points also, that we try and refrain from these, so that we are in the clear and we get our notifications approved. So yeah, you should avoid any promotional spammy content and you'll be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've covered mainly the entire one-way communication aspect of WhatsApp, and I'll hand it over to Avni to cover the most important two-way communication for WhatsApp. I'll button wherever I can, but yes, over to you, Avni.
Okay, great. Thanks, Tripti. I mean, this was a great introduction to WhatsApp as a channel. And I think notification is something that you kind of constantly learn from. With each new notification, you're just going to learn what WhatsApp accepts and does not. So it's just a learning curve. Just give it time. Moving on to two-way communication, like Tripti mentioned, WhatsApp as a platform is so familiar to its users today because they already use it for their personal use. They are using it to communicate to their friends and families and everyone. So it was very easy for brands and businesses to kind of get on WhatsApp and communicate to its users and provide that resolution so quickly. Like today, I don't think a lot of us download any apps to resolve certain queries because they get done on WhatsApp. I mean, it may or may not be a nice thing, but I'm just saying that for WhatsApp to deliver that kind of experience is very commendable. And I personally love designing chatbots on WhatsApp because I am already its end user. So I kind of already know what I want, what expectations are set for the other users as well. So coming to use cases, just for people who kind of maybe not know what use cases are, they're basically problems that businesses are trying to solve or want to solve for its end users. So I'm just going to talk a little bit more about what use cases work best on WhatsApp. This is again based on our experience and how we have designed these use cases at Haptik. I'm sure there are many more use cases. I'm sure that even today the audience here must have seen a lot of interesting use cases that they must have interacted with. So please feel free to put it in the comment section. We would love to know what are your interactions like, what are the interesting use cases that you have come across. So I'm just going to deep dive into each one of them a little bit and talk of how each use cases impact your experience on WhatsApp. So the first one is a post-sale support use case. Now, this is really, really huge for any e-commerce brand. Yeah. When we talk about post-sales, we are talking about everything from tracking order to downloading an invoice to raising a service request for a cancellation that you must have purchased. Um, and these use cases are so easy to tackle on WhatsApp. They're like literally on the tip of your finger. You just have to get on WhatsApp and ask for an invoice. Like Tripti said, like even though you have not received that notification, you can still go on that bot and ask for it. You can track where it is. Again, you need not download an app specifically for just tracking. You don't have to go visit a website. You just have to kind of treat it like Siri or an Alexa, but here it's more text based, where you're just going and typing that where is my order. And the way e-commerce brands do it today is they authenticate your WhatsApp number, and then provide more personalized information. That is one way to do it. And just in case, if say you're interacting with this bot from a different number, a lot of the brands today even authenticate that number using OTP, right? Like, oh, it's okay if you're not chatting from your registered number, but I can provide you more personal information if I can authenticate that other number using OTP, which is great again. Like, it is so hassle free for a user to kind of get shipping updates right on WhatsApp. It's as easy as talking to a friend and also getting updates, right? So this one's a great one for e-commerce post sale support. The next one is general FAQs. Now, again, this one is very interesting because previously it was so tedious, right? You go on a website, you search for that smaller FAQ button, you click on it, and then you browse through about 20, 25 FAQs to get that one answer. But today, what brands are asking us to do is like just put a dump of 70 FAQs on my WhatsApp chatbot, and I want that bot to answer the query of a user. So it's just easy for me again to kind of do a troubleshooting step where I just want to ask a brand like, how do I raise a cancellation request? I don't have to read through a full paragraph of an answer. The bot is just going to give me 2 steps how to do it, and I'm done. So general FAQs today is really liked by a lot of businesses and brands, and it's a requirement that has come in so frequently because it does not even require integration, right? These are very static answers, so simple to design and easy to deliver as well. So FAQs are again great to have on WhatsApp. The next one is product information, which is again kind of similar to FAQs. The difference here will be, say, for example, an X brand is launching its product, which not a lot of users know. So, what they're going to do is they're going to use WhatsApp as a channel to create that buzz. And they're going to market it in a way where, hey, why don't you get to know my product by just going and chatting on this bot? And they're going to give you all types of information. You want to know more about my product, you can ask me a question. How to use this product, you can ask me a question. And it's so simple and easy to even introduce your product today using WhatsApp as a channel and as a chat bot. Again, brands really prefer doing this now than in as a part of their promotional campaign. It's very interesting use case to have. The next one is lead generation. Again, here, this is very easy to do on web and an app. It's just like a form for every user to go and fill. But on WhatsApp, it becomes very conversational. It's like really talking to a human and giving that kind of an information to the bot one step at a time. It's obviously there's a limitation here because as a user, I don't know how long the form is or how many questions the bot is going to ask. So at Haptik, what we do is we keep a limitation of asking 5 fields to the user, not going beyond that, because then again it becomes a lot for a user. You want to keep it short, simple, easy for the user to just come and quickly register for something. So you don't want to again get spammy. And a good way to do it also is set expectations in the beginning of when you want to start asking questions, that hey, to register yourself for on this brand, I would require five details from you, and then start with that. So your user is already prepared that okay, the bot is going to ask me 5 questions, and then I'll be done. So again, lead gen, again, somewhere it has its limitations because you don't have those quick replies for the user to choose from and quickly do that, but it's still easily accessible to any user to provide that kind of information on a WhatsApp bot. The next.
Sorry, there's one question really quick.
Sure,
So
sure.
about the quick replies. So when you are having the buttons showing for the notifications where it could kind of like kick off a conversation, what's the difference between that and a quick reply? And like, how are you able to access those? That's what Karen, I believe that this is kind of what your question is how can you use those buttons slash, like, I guess there's only 2, so it's not really a quick
Yeah.
reply.
Yeah, I think there's a limit of 3. I think they've increased that recently only. And the way we look at it is that those quick replies are your chat triggers. They are your conversation starters. You cannot use them in between the chat with the user once the bot is triggered. But that's definitely your conversation starter. It's a feature that is only enabled on WhatsApp to send you notifications. So today, to catch that attention of a user, for example, if you want a telecom brand sending a notification that, hey, your bill is due, would you like to pay now? And there are two options, yes and no. So he's going to click on yes. The next step will be for the bot to provide that link for him to go and do that transaction. But till then, the bot is already triggered. So the way we look at it is that buttons are your conversation starters because you're only using them to send notifications, but you cannot use them in between the chat. So
Okay.
yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's not used in the same way that they're often used in like every other type of chatbot.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Like
A
a
lot of
web organ.
brands a lot of brands come to us, saying that why can't we use the notification in the middle of the
Yeah.
chat to act as buttons? But that's technically so difficult to do, right? You don't know where to trigger that notification, and it just gets very messy in terms of the back end side of things, and which is why we don't
Yeah.
advise it at all.
Yeah, well, it's
Yeah.
also not what it's for. Like, if they
Yeah.
wanted them to be used in that way, they would be
Yeah.
making them available. So it's kind of
Mhm.
like using the platform for its intended
Yeah,
purposes, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and we have also noticed it in our design that since they already have a limitation of only 3 quick replies, so we are like, is it going to be still usable to us? Because we are still providing that kind of a lot of information sometimes. So those 3 buttons are also not enough. So to have them intermittently kind of disrupts the experience. So we kind of try and avoid it completely and only use it for the purpose that right now they've designed it for.
Yeah. And there's another question about I think kind of like the lead generation, right? So I've designed a WhatsApp conversation for the buying and selling process, and it was hard at first because there are many products to show. Do you have any tips on designing a WhatsApp conversation that requires a wide range of information, especially for retail? And I think we might be talking about this a little bit later, but I think right now it could be helpful for especially as you're talking about you want to limit things to 5 user
Yeah.
interactions.
Yeah.
How do you do something like that if you have maybe more? Like, do you kind of just say we need to shorten this, or do you say we need to only ask the certain questions that are necessary to complete this transaction right here?
Yeah, I mean, you would want to limit it to a certain number, 5. Again, we are basing this basis our data also that we have seen on the chatbots that we have designed. And you
Mm-hmm.
can probably skip some steps as well, right? Like you don't need to ask a user number because you can already fetch that from WhatsApp. So you can skip that step and probably replace it to something else that is more important to you. Similarly with name or like full name, you can kind of get that from WhatsApp. But the challenge with that is that today on WhatsApp, usernames can get quirky. They're not sometimes actual names or full names. So it won't really help you in collecting that kind of data. But yeah, I mean, I totally understand that sometimes this information that you need in a lead generation is not avoidable, so you will have to go that one step ahead and probably ask more questions because that is the requirement of your brand at the end of the day. So you can't avoid that. Probably what you can do is and I will be talking about this later into how you can replace certain UI elements in a WhatsApp like format. Probably that will help you and give options to the user to choose from rather than them typing everything in free form. That still will kind of make it easier for the user to give information to you, rather than typing or asking them to type longer sentences. So yeah, that's another way to do it.
Yeah, and I think that's what I probably would say too, is like, can you group your elements together, or can you have sort of selections where the person doesn't have to say every single thing? Like, for example, if you are buying like a sofa, there's like a million fabric options, but you could say, are you looking for like this type or this type? Are you looking for leather or fabric? And they can just go based on that versus having to type in, I'm looking for, gray suede and this kind of stuff. So I think
Yeah.
there's ways that you can kind of guide around it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
guide the users towards a journey.
Sorry. I was saying what we're talking about is the ideal use case, right? The ideal things that we should do on WhatsApp, the ideal
Yeah.
number of inputs that we should take from a user specifically in a lead generation. But of course, if we have to twist it, we have to twist it. And
Yeah. As long as the user understands what they're in for, I think that's the key. Is like if you're kind of saying strap in, you're going to be here for 20 questions, but at the end they're getting something super, super valuable, they're more likely to hang on. It's just, I would warn people, because if you're not allowed to do re-engagements, you want to make sure that you actually get the person to the end. So that's like super important to keep in mind.
100%.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, you don't want to disappoint the user at the end of 10 questions and say that probably go on that link and give me more information, right? You would want to end it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I think this again, next topic is very similar to what we have already started discussing. It's about, UI elements, limitations that WhatsApp has, and probably how we can work around on WhatsApp. So today, when you go on any web or an in-app chatbot and you click on Let's Chat, you probably already see a display of options which are clickable. Again, this is so easy for a user to click and, move forward in the journey. But for WhatsApp, what you can do is make this more visual, make this more easily understandable in the in the form of a menu. So the way we look at it at Haptik, we call it designing a menu, and it's also very similar to the experience that we have on an IVR, right? Because on IVR, you're still the bot is asking you that press one to do that and move forward. So for WhatsApp, we choose to do the same thing. You display a list of options in the form of a menu, associate each option with a number, and ask the user to select that number and move forward. This does two things. This The user does not have to type the full query, or type the full query by themselves. They just have to type one number and move forward and get their answer, right? And with each menu, we also always give them a tip of how to converse or how to communicate with this bot. What is the best way this bot will understand your language? So this is one way to kind of look past the limitations and become more creative, use emojis, use numbers, probably even come up with keywords you want the user to type and provide answers.
Yeah, and this is the same way that I do that in SMS. So SMS doesn't have buttons either. So we have to kind of come up with the buttons similar to an IVR of, say, instead of typing whatever answer you have here, like together we can, success stories, you can just write for. And I think it's a lot easier for the user, especially in a sense where you're asking a lot of questions or where it's hard to spell the answer or it might be complicated. You could be able to just write a letter or a number and quickly move through the conversation is like a lot better for the user.
Also,
Yeah.
it works both ways, right? If you have a chatty user, they can write the whole sentence and still get the answer. And if you have a user who just wants to go one after the other, just write a number and you're good to go.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, like you could be listening for other types of responses at all times. And that's kind of a good way, I think. Even if you're using quick replies, you still want to be listening for them to say something that's not in your script.
And answer
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what we've also noticed is that a lot of brands, because this bot is on WhatsApp, they want it to be completely free form. They're like, let's just make the bot so confident that, let the user come and type their query in free form and we should be able to answer. But that's not how machine learning works at times. That's not how you can train with every intent. And what we have seen in our research also is that when there is no option that is displayed on WhatsApp, right, users are not confident, will this bot be able to answer my query? So when you display that type of options to them, like this one, they already know that this is how much the bot knows, and I'm confident that I will receive an answer.
Yeah.
So
We want
yeah,
to guide
so
them over confusing them. So,
correct. Um, and the next one again is very simple, location sharing. It is so easily done on web or an in-app, because location sharing feature is already enabled by the user. So we just have to fetch that information. But that does not happen with WhatsApp always. You have to teach the user sometimes as to how to even share location, especially for an audience in India where, a lot of users are not tech savvy. Today, they don't know probably how to share images or probably how to share location. It's tough thing to do. So what we have done is we have come up with this visual which explains them how to share your location, and we are trying to overcome that button feature where, instead of typing everything out. We just have to send this one image for them to understand how to share location. And this is again device specific. So if you have an Android, you know how to do it. If you have an iOS device, you know how to do it. The next one again is carousel cards on WhatsApp. As a UX and UI designer, I think carousel card element is something that is so favorite for us to frequently use to display options to the users to choose from, because it gives you the liberty to add image and also a button that is clickable and easily selectable. So on WhatsApp, what we do is we share images, but we share them with captions with keywords. So the user knows that for this image selection, I have to type this keyword. So the bot will know that this is what I want, or this is what is my answer, or this is what I need queries answered for. So this is again a hack or a hacky way to do it. But this is an still easier way to train your bot also, and for your bot to understand what is the image that the user is selecting for. Um, so yeah, I think this is about UI limitations and how to overcome them. We also have this section about comment formatting, and we are going to share some tips and tricks based on our experience of what has worked for us. And the way we look at it is, we have designed two types of menu. We already spoke about how to initiate chat on a WhatsApp bot for a user, and what we discovered was that there were two ways. Like I said, there are brands and businesses that do want the bot to be chatty. They want the users to type words rather than an IVR type format. So we have bifurcated these two experiences in a numeric menu and a keyword menu. So numeric menu again is very easy for a user to understand. There are three aspects to it. There is an introduction, which is always very important for any bot, to introduce yourself to your end user. So you're going to say, okay, hi, I'm so and so, I am your virtual assistant, and you're going to display that list of options associated with each number. And always have a tip for a numeric menu, because you would want the user to know what is it that the bot will understand. Is it going to understand the number that you've mentioned, or is it going to understand the call to action that you've given? Because we at Haptik, we train the bot to understand both the number and the keyword, but we always make sure that our numbers are in bold, because that is what we want the user to type, and that is what we want the user to move forward also easily in the conversation. We don't want them to make spelling errors. Like numbers is just so easy to type and move forward.
Yeah.
So the
And there
right
actually was a question about that too, that I think would be helpful for people to hear too, is like, so when you're giving this description of like type any number 1 to 5, which is the exact same as how I do it as well, like telling them how to reply. So someone is saying, if you're giving this description or how to use it, will this not be more taxing for the user? And I think what they mean too is it's giving the user a little bit more to read, but it is actually simplifying it, right? And so could you just go into kind of how you made that decision of like, why are we like offering up this tip of saying, let the user know how we want them to respond or how we want them to make their selection?
This is a great question, and I'm so happy that I'm so confident answering this, because we have actually done a user study, and we actually went to our end users to understand if they are able to decipher this message that we are sending to them. Are they able to understand how to navigate? And the response that we got was yes, they were, even though it is two extra sentences for them to read, but they already know that I am confident as a user, if I'm going to type one, the bot will answer. So one, we are building confidence for the user. Two, there is not much of a learning curve, if you see, right? Like an IVR, it's already existing, users already used it, they know how it works.
Mm-hmm.
So here it's just for once, they have to read it once, and they'll be able to reach their answer so quickly. Because on WhatsApp, again, there is not just one menu. For some use cases, there are going to be layers of menus for them to finally go reach that answer. This is again if they are not writing in free form, or if say we have a dump of 50 FAQs, that's a lot, right? We can't display that at once, so we are going to layer them in categories and subcategories and then bring down to the final answer. So, and we are going to display all of these options to them using the same type of menu. We are not going to change that. So it's already stuck to them. They know that this is the first thing that they are seeing, and they are very happy to communicate with the bot in the exact same way, and they're confident. So the next time when they come, they don't have to read those two extra sentences. They are already aware that this is how it's going to work. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think it does work for a lot of users.
And I
Yeah,
think in
I
the
totally
same user
agree.
study,
Mhm.
we also found out that even if the user does not read the first portion of the message, they tend to read the last sentence of the message. And if that is an
Correct.
actionable, if that is telling them how to take action to go to the next step, your work is done, right? They'll read the last line and they'll say, okay, what is this 1 to 5 are they talking about? And then they'll go up and read the menu and then finally make their choice, which makes it so much easier.
Yeah, and I think it is. It's definitely easy and it's very clear how you have it here. And while the user might be needing to read an extra line, they don't have to type an entire line. And I think that's kind of the key, is not having them type something in where they might spell something incorrectly, or it just takes that much longer for them to actually make their response, as opposed to type, 1, 3, 4, and they just kind of blast right through the conversation, which is the ultimate goal, right?
Yeah. Okay, the next one again is the keyword menu. So now here, okay, if you want the users to type, use this type of menu. That is why we designed it. And this type of menu actually works for a use case that is so specific. So we have seen brands where they're already aware that there are certain questions which my users are asking today a lot, and I want to cater to them first. So when you look at this menu, the first three options, we have purposely not used numbers at all, because we want the user to read these queries, find out their answer, and type those keywords. So for a brand like this one, they already said that, my users are not able to watch this movie. What do I do? So this is the first thing that the user is going to see, and they're going to easily find that answer. So we cater to both type of experiences. Again, if you want a numeric IVR-ish like experience, yes, we have that option. If you want it to be more chatty, you want the users to type keywords, we have that option as well. And even if you look at here, this menu, this format, right, we also have an option for the user to go and switch to an IVR experience. So when the user types menu, we switch to numbers, because not all users are the same. Some people just want their answers answered very quickly. So why not cater to that as well? Okay, I think key design takes away now. This is again compiling everything that we have discussed, and just general good practices that we should keep in mind when we are designing for WhatsApp. That keep it spam free. Why we want to take care of this is because, again, WhatsApp is still a personal channel. We are kind of invading it with, helping users to answer their business queries, but it is still used very personally also. So you don't want to spam your user or annoy them. Keep it transactional yet conversational. Again, some use cases, like we discussed, are very critical. So you don't want to, become more chatty and friendly with them. You would want to provide their answers or resolutions very quickly, which is why we are saying keep it transactional. Obviously, for certain use cases, for engagement, you can, build your bot persona in such a way where it can become chatty, and the users will enjoy it. Keep your design relevant and updated. Like we said, WhatsApp has new policies coming in, very frequently. So be updated with that. If they have a UI element coming in tomorrow, please feel free to use that in your conversational journeys. And make sure you're following their policies so your notifications get approved. And keep it short, again, because this is WhatsApp. The only reason why your user is coming to this platform is because they want their queries answered as quickly as possible. So keep it short and simple, and just help your users on WhatsApp and create a very happy experience.
Yeah, and speaking of that, I would love to know what some of your favorite experiences are, or brands that you think are doing good things on WhatsApp, either so people can try them out or like get inspiration. Obviously, some might not be available everywhere, but I think it would be great to have a few examples for people.
Yeah, I
Sure.
think, Avni, you want to go first? Or
No,
you want
no,
me to?
go ahead.
I think we tried out this chatbot by Nike. I think Nike's, CSR WhatsApp chatbot. I forgot what it was called. It was something about
Sister chatbot. I actually have it on my
We'll
phone.
find
But
it out and we'll post the link. But it was very, very
Yeah.
interesting how they used emojis, how they used just the personality of the chatbot to bring out the engagement versus, making it promotional or marketing. I think it was something to do with girl power. They,
Bix's Nike
Mm,
Foundation is what it's called.
okay.
I think you can look
Nike
it up, and
Foundation.
I think Avni, you can look it up on Google here itself and show them.
Yeah, yeah.
That, I think one really interesting chatbot was the Disney Hotstar chatbot that we worked for. It is the Indian version of Disney Plus. That's
Okay.
Hotstar in India, which has Indian content plus it has the Disney movies on it. So we had a chatbot for the cricket season that was going on at that time, and it was very interesting because they had about 200 FAQs, and we had to design the chatbot only basis FAQs, right? And this was the very first time we tried out the keyword based menu, and it worked wonders because we were putting the top queries that users were coming and actually asking on the chatbot, and we were frequently changing that menu to mimic the higher growing numbers of questions that were coming in, which was resolving queries so much faster, right? So I think that was a very interesting experience to work on. Avni, you can go if you have any others in mind.
No, I think Nike one is really great. I'm really hoping to share that number here. It's a WhatsApp number, so obviously you can go chat. That was a good one. And personally, for me, we had designed this bot for an e-commerce brand during the pandemic. It's called GeoMart. It's on WhatsApp, and we designed specifically for users to easily track their orders. And it was so challenging to design it at that point, but we learned so much from it because it was an e-commerce use case. To show a list of orders on a WhatsApp chatbot is very, very challenging, and we were able to overcome that. If you get a chance, do go and interact with that bot. It's a great bot to have and interact. And we did experiment with a lot of conversational elements also, like we had keywords and numbers both going on, but it did work. So yeah, that is one of my good experiences of designing a WhatsApp bot.
Yeah, and I see I'm just like searching a little bit too because I'm curious. I see that the World Health Organization was also on it.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah, so
sent
that's probably one people can try.
I've sent the Nike one on chat. I've sent the number.
Oh, great.
Oh, great. I'll post it on Facebook as well. Yeah, Big Sis by Nike Foundation. So that would be a good one. Is there a way within WhatsApp for people to see brands that are on there, like any sort of like number directory? It's just like or you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
It's
and also actually it depends on how the brand is marketing their number. So if a brand is wanting to really engage, they will publicize it in all their marketing campaigns, on their social media posts. Social media is again one good way to make that number go viral, as everybody talks about. So yeah, but like if you're not a brand follower, probably I don't think we have a list where we can go browse through WhatsApp bots.
no, I think a
Yeah,
lot
and
of
I'm
times
sure there is online.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
you can Google it every day, but I think brands use emails for communication. But also, one thing to note is that a lot of brands promote these numbers left, right, center. They put in a lot of monies in it and they go full out. But we need to keep wary of the fact that WhatsApp can block a number after flagging it a few times. And if they block it, they do not unblock it ever. So if you're getting a number, promoting it,
Interesting.
be very, very sure to put in the content that matches the policies of WhatsApp. Otherwise your money is down the drain.
Yeah, so you have to make sure that you're getting opt-in, and like some things that you can do with SMS to get that too is you can have someone fill in a form with their phone number and then you can send them a text from that so they don't have to type it in. But yeah, definitely some sort of language to make sure that you are capturing the consent of the phone numbers, because no better way to waste your money than to not get that.
Yeah.
Someone says HDFC Bank is one, a WhatsApp bot the
Yeah.
Haptik has created. MyGov is another one that you guys have done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was the biggest chatbot that we reached in India. It was the coronavirus helpline for the government of India, which was amazing, and I think it was very informational and educational.
Yeah, and that I'm sure too that during the pandemic, especially as I mentioned, like the World Health Organization, which that's probably one that anyone can access, but I'm sure there were a lot of different government implementations during the past year and a half, I guess we are now.
There was another very interesting one that's coming to my mind. There's one e-commerce brand in India called Flipkart. They did, a
Oh,
chatbot where they used emojis to help people shop. So if a user put a shoe emoji, they would give a list of the top 10 shoes that were on sale at that time, which was so interesting in my mind. They used machine learning to the fullest of its power and leveraged the platform, to up their sales, which is a little beyond the policies of WhatsApp, but I'm sure they must have had an arrangement of sorts. But it was a very
Yeah.
nice way of engagement.
Yeah, the way they were doing it was more informative versus
Yeah,
promotional, I guess. So it's more people were kind of subscribing to get the latest update versus
yeah,
get when they didn't really realize that they were actually getting marketed to during it.
yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
it was very nice to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we have one more question and then I'll let both of you go. Someone was wondering about usage for WhatsApp. So is there a way that people can have two different like toggles on and off in WhatsApps in case they want to unsubscribe from business messages or if they want to have like a separate inbox for their business and their personal messages?
So you don't have separate inboxes, at least I'm not aware of that.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
we do get a lot of requests from brands, right? That we want to also give the user an option to unsubscribe. And a lot of other brands also do it in a very nice way where they put it in design. The first notification that they send you, in that itself, they have like a copy stating if you ever want to, opt out of WhatsApp, just type, no, or any other shorter keyword that,
Stop. Yeah.
yeah, like stop, and we'll stop
Yeah.
sending you notifications. So
Yeah.
yeah, that is a way you can give the user power to stop, for sure.
Yeah. Well, thank you both so much. I have learned so much, and I'm sure that also everyone in the chat has learned so much. I also see someone just dropped a bunch of examples of WhatsApp bots in the chat. If you're curious to see those, but yeah, Avni and Tripti, thank you so much for teaching us all everything. And if you want to just let people know where they can learn more from you, where they can find you, where they could chat with you more about WhatsApp.
Yep, I think
Gosh.
LinkedIn is the place. We're also hiring conversation designers for Haptics. So if you guys are
Ooh.
looking for a job now, since we are remote, we can do it all over the world. So please hit either of us up. And if you're a brand or service who wants to leverage our platform and make a chatbot, why not? Again, LinkedIn is your platform. I think we've put our handles in the presentation.
Yeah.
But happy to chat.
Yeah, same here. I think you can connect with me on LinkedIn and happy to chat more about designing conversations, not just on WhatsApp, but any other platform.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that some people watching are looking for jobs. So if you want to become a conversation designer for WhatsApp, definitely reach out to both of you on LinkedIn and yeah, chat more about it. It's super awesome. And like I said, thank you so much for teaching us everything. I feel like we got such a great overview and I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Hilary. It was great. I mean, it was great chatting with you as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed myself thoroughly.
Awesome. That's so great. Well, I will talk to you guys next time. And again, thanks to everyone for tuning in, and we will talk to you later.